Hey everyone, on today's episode of Beer and Watches, we're going to be unboxing these two beautiful watches from the Whitby Watch Company in Whitby, Ontario, Canada. And these watches, well, they are stunning and totally affordable. So without further ado, time's a ticking, so let's get stuck in. Hey everyone, what's up? Happy Friday, Matt Johnson here, and I'm your host of my YouTube channel, Beer and Watches, where every Friday I bring you a brand new watch review, and I also mix it with a craft beer brew. That is, of course, except for today, because today's Thursday when I'm filming this, and there's no beers in my beer fridge. Anyway, we're going to have to forego the beer today, but what we are going to do is we're going to unbox and review these two beautiful watches. Well, when I say two, there's actually four, but there's two of each design. I hope that makes sense. But we're going to unbox these beautiful watches from the Whitby Watch Company in Whitby, Ontario, Canada. If you want to check these guys out and their cool lineup of watches, you can go to this website right here, whitbywatchco.com, and I'll also put that link in the description below this video. Now, for full disclosure, I was sent these watches for review. I do have to send these watches back, except for this Ambassador GMT Seafarer right here, because I love this one so much that I reached out to Whitby and told them, and they were kind enough to say that I could keep it. So huge thank you to Roy and all of the staff over there at the Whitby Watch Company for allowing me to keep this watch. I absolutely love it, and this is one of the ones that's going to get unboxed in a second. Wait a second, it's already out of the box. I should put it back. There's going to be two of the Ambassador watches. There's quite a few in that design, I believe 6. I've got 2 of them right here. And there's also going to be 2 in the Arrow line of Pilot's watches. And I've got 2 of them right here as well. Anyway, we're going to unbox these together. I'm going to unbox the Ambassador first, and then I'm going to unbox the Arrow. We'll give you all of the specs. We'll take the backs off, look at the movements inside. One of these watches is a quartz watch, and one of these watches is an automatic watch. And if you scroll down to the bottom of their homepage, there's actually a place where you can sign up for their newsletter, and if you do, you get 10% off any of their watches. Now, all of the prices that I'll be quoting today are in Canadian dollars, so that means if you're buying these in US dollars, they're going to be much cheaper, which is great. By the way, they also sell some really cool merch, and this hat right here is from the Whitby Watch Co. You can pick these hats up on their website for $36.95 Canadian, and they are absolutely beautiful. Let's turn this camera around and let's get into the watch reviews. We've got the Ambassador watches in here, 2 out of the 6, and we have the Arrow watches here. Now, the Ambassador watches come in at normally $339 Canadian. However, they're on sale on their website right now for $298 Canadian, and all of the Ambassador watches come with a double leather watch case, so there's room for an extra watch in there. All of the Arrow watches are $499 Canadian. I should mention that these Arrow watches are automatic watches, and the Ambassador watches, the Ambassador GMTs, are actually quartz watches. We'll put the Arrow aside for a second. We're going to get into the 2 watches in here out of the Ambassador GMT line. Now, the Ambassador watches are designed in Canada and they're made in the USA. Now, let's go ahead and open up this case. First of all, we have a beautiful presentation case. It does have the Whitby logo embossed into the leather here. A little difficult to see, but it's easier if I get it just right in the light. Open this up, and again, this is a dual watch case. We have 1 watch in each side now. Obviously, I've got 2 watches for display here out of the Ambassador line, but normally if you purchase this watch, you get 1 watch and then an empty space where you can keep any other watch that you have in your collection. Very nice case indeed. We've got kind of a leather separator between the 2 here, some nice mottled finish to the leather, white stitching. That is there, the care and use card, and then we've also got the warranty card here. And to be honest, I'm actually not sure what the warranty is on these. I know that it will have a full 1-year manufacturer's warranty, but it probably does have more. Both of these watches very similar. The Ambassador line comes either with a 316L stainless steel brush case, as these 2 do here, or a black PVD case. Now, as you can see, the one on the left here has red and white hour indices and markers with kind of a blue background, and this one here just has red hour and numeral markers with a blue background with white at the 2, 4, 8 and 10 positions. So slightly different, little darker on this one on the right, little lighter on this one on the left. I actually prefer this one, and Whitby Watch Company have been kind enough to let me keep this particular Ambassador GMT, and I'm thrilled to be able to add this to my collection, not only because it's a beautiful watch, as you're going to find out in this review, but also because it's got the red, white and blue on there, the colors of the UK flag, and also the Canadian maple leaf, and I live in Canada, so it's a little ode to both. And also being a GMT and having that extra GMT hand there means that I can track time in both Canada, where I live, and the UK, where my family lives. So very, very cool. GMT standing for Greenwich Mean Time, and I'm going to explain how all that works as we move along. I'm going to put one of these aside, as they are indeed both the same watch, just slightly different colorways. First of all, as you can see, the second hand is ticking there and not sweeping, which means that this is a quartz movement, and we'll take the back off the watch in a moment and take a look at the quartz movement inside. If you take a look at the case, we've got a brushed stainless steel 316L case. Brushing is done very, very nicely on this, great finishing, super impressed. Moving around to the back, we've got a screwed down stainless steel case back with kind of a bee blasted center there, 10 ATMs, 100 meters of water resistance, Whitby Watch Co, GMT, Swiss movement, and designed in Canada. Again, this one being built in the USA. Now, as for the strap on this, we've got a silicone rubber strap, very soft, very comfortable. The silicone rubber tends to pick up dust and hairs and things, so you are going to have to give it a wipe every once in a while. We've got two keepers. Both are movable, but this one is held in place by little stoppers. The strap has got kind of this honeycomb finish to it. If we move up to the tang buckle here, you can see that it's stamped with the Whitby Watch logo, and you'll notice it's a little bit unusual because instead of having one tang, it has two tangs. And indeed, if we look down here, you'll notice that it has double tang holes along the strap. Now, this is quite unique. I personally have never seen it before on any of the watches that have come in to the Beer and Watch channel. I really dig it. It's just the same as any other tang buckle, but just a little bit wider, and it gives us that dual tang there. I just think it's kind of a cool, interesting talking point. Now, moving around to the face of this, we've got a domed sapphire crystal on this, slightly domed. It does have anti-reflective coating on there. Now, as you can see, looking at the dial, we've got a blue background on this. Again, it does come in different colorways. We've got red and white hour markers around the outside with a white minute track. Because it is a GMT, we do have the GMT hours of the 24-hour clock as we move around. So here would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then as you carry on round here, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. So it does have the 24-hour GMT hand. The GMT hand is essentially going to move twice as slow as the actual hour hand. So it takes 24 hours for the GMT hand to do a full rotation of the dial. Just below the 12 o'clock position, we've got the Whitby logo, Whitby Watch Co. And then to balance that out, just above the 6 o'clock position, we've got the Canadian maple leaf. Again, the Whitby Watch Company based in Whitby, Ontario, Canada, and their story is all about being Canadian and how Canadians are represented all over the world. Right here at the 3 o'clock position, we've got a date window. It is quite small. It's got a blue background to match the dial of the watch. Two nice big hands there. White, that is all loomed. We've got the white second hand, which everything really pops against that blue background very, very nicely. As you can see, we've got loom on the hour and minute hand. Also, you can see we've got it on that GMT hand as well, on the arrow on the end of the GMT hand. We also have loom on the Whitby logo, the Canadian maple leaf. We have loom at the 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 positions. Also all the way around that minute track on the outside. So let's talk a little bit about the GMT second hand on this for the second time zone. So essentially that fourth hand, the GMT hand, allows you to set a second time zone on this watch. And GMT, standing for Greenwich Mean Time, is basically the mean solar time at the Greenwich Royal Observatory in London, England. Now, GMT on a watch is essentially a 24-hour format hand that indicates the second time zone. And as I said, it rotates once every 24 hours. So if you look at the regular dial, we've got 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. But on the Greenwich Mean Time or the 24-hour clock, you can see that the 1 position is actually 2. And the 2 position is actually 4, the 3 position actually 6, and so on. When we get to the 6, that becomes the 12 in 24-hour clock, and then 14, 16, 18, 20. So right now we can see here that regular time in Canada is 10 to 2 in the afternoon. In the UK, it is actually 22, so it's actually 21:50 or 21:45, which means that it's 9:45, because 22 on the 24-hour clock is 10 o'clock. That's how that GMT hand works and the second time zone works. I'm going to show the operation of that. Here is the crown. As you can see, it is a stamped with the Whitby logo. It's got good teeth to it. It's not a screw down crown. It is a push-pull crown, so you want to be a little careful on this with swimming. I personally would wear it for washing dishes, possibly showering, but I wouldn't wear it swimming. With the crown, if we pull it out 1 notch and I rotate it clockwise, you can see that that changes the date. If I rotate it anti-clockwise, you can see that that changes the GMT hand. All right. If we pull this out again, that allows me to change the time on the watch, and we push this all the way in, and that resets everything. Really nice finishing on this. That crown works beautifully. The strap is a little stiff right out of the box, but I do expect that will loosen up. I just mean a little stiff on the lugs here. Before we get into the back of this watch and show you the movement inside, let's take a look at a couple of the measurements. So first of all, the diameter of the watch comes in at about 42 millimeters without the crown, and then with the crown is coming in at 45 millimeters. The thickness on this, bearing in mind it has a slightly domed sapphire crystal, is 12 millimeters. The lug to lug on this is going to be 49.6, so about 50 millimeters. And the band thickness on here comes in at slightly under, so essentially it's 22 millimeter band. All in all, just a great looking watch, and I absolutely love it. Very unique, very unusual, very clean lines. Second time zone, I absolutely dig it. Now let's use my case back removal tool and let's take the case back off and take a look at the movement inside that's powering this watch. So let's take the case back off and let's take a look under the hood. And there we have the quartz movement inside. Now if we take my little spyglass, hopefully we can get a close-up on this quartz movement. Okay, first of all, at the top here it does say Swiss parts. Below that it says Ronda there and 1 jewel. I can't see the movement number on there. It may be under the battery. However, I know by looking at this that what we are looking at here is indeed a Swiss quartz Ronda PowerTech 515 movement. Now, because I know that's what the movement is, that tells me a couple of things. First of all, it tells me that the battery life on this is going to be about 45 months, so pretty close to 4 years of battery life on this. And I also know, based on the movement, that this movement is going to be hackable, which means when we pull out the crown, the second hand stops, and that allows for more precise time setting. It also acts as a power saving mode, because when the crown's pulled out, it's not drawing power on the battery. Always good, well-built workhorse movements. Let's pop the case back on here and take one last look at this Ambassador GMT from the Whitby Watch Company. And so there it is. I think it's an absolutely stunning watch. I love it because, as I say, it is a GMT watch, allows for that second time zone. Beautiful, beautiful watch on wrist, and coming in right now at only $298 Canadian. I think it's a really great deal, and don't forget that it is available in other colorways as well, and it also comes with that double zippered case. So great value for money. I, for one, am very, very impressed. Now, moving on, we have another offering from the Whitby Watch Company, and that is this one right here. This is the Arrow. Now, the Arrow is actually a pilot watch, or what's known as a Flieger watch. A Flieger essentially is German for flyer, meaning pilot. And inside here I have 2 of these watches. Again, this comes in a number of different colorways and designs. One of them has the simple pilot watch layout, and the other one has a slightly different pilot watch layout with the minutes on the outer side and the hours on the inner circle. I'm going to bring these out together. We'll review one because they're essentially the same features, but again, slightly different look and function to each watch. Now, one thing I want to start by saying is that these watches actually don't come with a double watch case. These come with a single watch case. These come in at $499 Canadian because these are not quartz watches. These are actually automatic watches. Now, there is a more expensive version of this pilot watch from the Whitby Watch Company called the Avro, and the Avro is a limited edition that comes with a Swiss 2824 movement. That one is $895 Canadian. These watches, the Arrow, are essentially like the junior edition of the Avro. These come with an NH35 movement inside, which is a great workhorse movement. You can never go wrong with the Seiko NH35. As you can see, one of the main differences, that second hand is not ticking, it is sweeping, which signifies that it is an automatic movement inside. Now, again, if you take a look at these, you can see that, first of all, they're instantly recognizable as pilot's watches. Now, pilot's watches, you can tell by a whole bunch of different ways. First of all, you can tell with the large legible dial, because after all, pilot's watches were made for the German Luftwaffe pilots in the Second World War, and designed so that the numbers were easily readable at a glance, so that while the pilot was flying the plane without moving his hands off the controls, he could just glance at his wrist and tell the time. And so that is what signifies a pilot watch. Another thing that signifies a pilot watch is the lume on the dials to enhance readability for night flights. And there we have the lume on the Arrow. As you can see, we've got it on the hour and minute hand. We also have it on that sweeping second hand. We also have it on the hour markers, the numerals, and on that triangle and dots up there at the 12 o'clock position. Another way you can tell is by the oversized crown, which has kind of got an onion shape to it. The reason being that in the old days of piloting flights, the pilots would wear leather gloves, and it was very difficult to change the time, to set the time or move the crown or wind the watch if you were wearing leather gloves without it being a large crown. So that is also something that signifies, or that you'll see on a pilot watch. Another thing you'll generally see is this triangle at the 12 o'clock position, which signifies the orientation of the watch, so the pilot instantly can tell which way up the watch is. Now, both of these do bear a striking resemblance to the original IWC pilot watches, especially the one here on the left. All of the specs on these watches are exactly the same, so it's just your personal preference as to which one you actually prefer. Now, the pilot watches do generally come, as these do, with a leather strap. We've got 2 rivets on the strap there. We've got 2 keepers, one set in place, one movable. This is a titanium case, so these watches are very, very light. And up here we have a titanium tang buckle. It is stamped with the Whitby emblem there, the Whitby logo. On this one, a brown leather strap with some nice white stitching, very well finished. And we also have on this quick release pins. So for this, you don't need tools. You just simply pull down on that little notch there, and that releases the strap from the lugs. Looking at the back, you can see that we've got Whitby Watch Co. We've got the Whitby logo in the middle, Arrow, and designed in Canada. 5 ATMs, 50 meters of water resistance. I really, really like the design of these watches. Very, very simple, very clean. We've got the hour and minute hands surrounded in blue with the lume in the middle. And this one has kind of a gray dial to it. We've got the Whitby Watch logo, as you can see, and we've got the triangle with the 2 dots that, again, you generally find on pilot's watches. Genuine leather strap. It is a 22mm band. It is a Dasari genuine leather strap, nicely finished, little stiff right out of the box, but that will soften up very nicely as you wear this a few times. Let's do a couple of measurements on this. First of all, I expect this case to be quite large because generally pilot's watches are oversized. We've got a 43mm diameter here, and then with the crown we come to a 47mm with the crown. The width on this, we've got a completely flat sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. The width on this is coming in at 10.5 millimeters. The lug to lug on this is 50 millimeters, so large lug to lug, and again is stamped right on the band. We've got a 22 millimeter watch strap. Now this particular model here with just the large numerals around is known as the Type A arrow from Whitby Watch Company, and this one here with the large minute track on the outside and then the smaller hour track in the middle is known as the Type B model. Now you'll notice on this one that the hour hand actually comes up to just over the circle of the hours in the middle, and then the second hand and the minute hand actually extend out to the minutes on the outer track. Moving round to the crown on this, as I say, they are an oversized onion style crown. They are stamped with the Whitby Watch logo, good teeth on there, very easy to operate. Now these do have a ghost function because the NH35 does have the ability to come with a date. However, these watches don't have a date, so when you pull this out, the first notch doesn't actually do anything, but then the second notch is actually how you change the time, and that works very well, very responsive. Push that back in and then you give this a turn to actually wind the watch, and the winding action on that is absolutely beautiful. Very, very easy to wind. This is going to wind itself with the movement of your wrist. Let's take the back off this, take a look at the movement inside, and give you a few more specs on the NH35. Again, this case is titanium, so this back and the entire case is very, very light. And there inside is the NH35 movement. As you can see right there on the rotor, it says NH35. It tells us in the middle that it has 24 joules. Very nicely finished inside. I really like that. Now the NH35 movement is a workhorse from Seiko. It's been around for a very, very long time. Great movement to have in a watch. Good accuracy. Basically, it has 21,600 beats per hour, 24 joules, and a 41-hour power reserve. So that rotor there, when you're wearing the watch, is going to swing back and forth, and that's actually going to wind the watch, kind of like a pendulum on a clock. In the action of wearing the watch on your wrist, it's actually going to wind the movement inside. So as long as you're wearing it every day, you shouldn't need to wind it. I'm impressed with the overall finish and fit of this watch. Very nicely done. Again, coming in at $499 Canadian, but don't forget, if you do sign up for the Whitby Watch Company newsletter on their website, you are going to get 10% off, so you're going to save yourself about 50 bucks. So there it is, the two Arrow watches from the Whitby Watch Company, and I think all of these watches, the Arrow watches and also the Ambassador watches, are great offerings. They have a few more offerings on the website, so make sure you do go check them out. I sincerely hoped you enjoyed this look at the Whitby Watch Company watches. So there you have it, my friends, my review of the Ambassador and the Arrow Pilot's watch from the Whitby Watch Company. I absolutely love this line of watches, and I suggest, if you love them too, you head on over to their website, again, whitbywatchco.com, and again, I'll put that link in the description below this video. Once again, I'd like to say a big thank you to Roy and the staff over at the Whitby Watch Co for sending these along for review and also allowing me to keep this Ambassador GMT. I'm going to wear it with pride. That's it, everybody, for this episode of Beer and Watches. Don't forget to crack your favorite beer, put on your favorite watch, kick back, relax, and enjoy yourselves over the weekend, because after all, you've deserved it. If you haven't seen it yet, I have a whole plethora of videos on my channel. This one's good right here, so do make sure you check that one out, and also make sure you click on the Beer and Watches logo right there to subscribe. Take care. We'll see you again next Friday right here on Beer and Watches. Bye for now.